on the Weather Channel. Green is universal. All this week on the Weather Channel. Green shines here.
Thank you, Paul. Well, our Green is Universal coverage continues next with an interview you'll see only here on Weather Center. We're going to introduce you to a man who's made his life work to save the Earth. All about his work in the Antarctic coming up next.
Well, there's not a better day than Earth Day to talk about our changing Earth.
And with that, we now bring in Dr. James McClintock, an expert on climate change and its impacts on Antarctica. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. So how dramatic are the impacts in Antarctica?
The impacts are really quite astounding. Everything from glaciers that are quickly melting, you've got ice sheets that are breaking down. We have tremendous impacts on the ecology of the system as well, particularly as it ties in with the annual sea ice, and organisms like krill that are at the base of the food web, which depend on this sea ice, are having a very difficult time, and the krill populations are declining. The ramifications go from the lowest end of the food chain all the way up to the higher end where the large whales are feeding on the krill. So it's a very dramatic impact that's going on the Antarctic Peninsula at this time.
Now, Dr. McClintock, in December, you're leading a mission into Antarctica. Tell us about how the equipment you are bringing will better help study climate change.
Yeah, I'm going to be the Abercrombie and Kent Antarctic Climate Change mission cruise. I'll be leading in December, like you said, and the passengers are in for really the trip of their lifetime. It's a fantastic experience to see this amazing landscape and wildlife, but this is also very much of an educational mission to learn about the dramatic climate changes that are going on, and part of that, as you indicate, will be a visit to the U.S. Palmer Research Station, where I work as a professor at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and the passengers will make a presentation to the climate change scientists there of a piece of equipment that they can use to measure the light waves of plankton, these phytoplankton that live in the ocean, in order to better understand how these plankton are responding to changes in that climate system. So it's a neat thing for these passengers to get to see what's actually going on in this system and make a contribution to understanding the effects of climate change.
Well, with the things we do here, Doctor, so how can people really make a difference with climate change with respect to Antarctica here?
Well, I like to think when I take people to Antarctica with Abercrombie and Kent, for example, that they come back educated about what's happening down there and become ambassadors for Antarctica. Antarctica is really sort of the bellwether. It is the canary in the cage for much of the changes that are going on related to climate change. For example, I'm interested in ocean acidification and how the oceans are taking up CO2 now, and this is causing shelled organisms to lose their shells. In Antarctica, these organisms are very thinly shelled inherently, and as a result of this system is going to tell us a lot about how animals respond to ocean acidification. So we can learn a lot about climate change from studying these Antarctic systems as it relates to the entire world.
All right, Dr. James McClintock, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, and come back after you're there
pleasure.
in December and tell us and show us pictures and talk about all the changes that you've seen. Really cool. I'd love to be part of that.
Fantastic.
All right, well, before the break, we asked you about, of course, a Going Green question, and we've got the answer for you.
Now, which uses less water, washing dishes by hand or a full load in the dishwasher?